Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, we're in the shop today, and if my voice is a little raspy, I apologize. We just ended a hour-long live stream. We were doing it here on the laptop on the welding cart, and as you guys can see, this is dated 10/6. So yeah, every now and then we decide to do a live stream, but yeah, so let's go ahead and get into today's video. And today what we're doing is piecing up some parts from Texas Speed. I've been waiting for these parts for a long time, and a part from Mighty Mouse. So let's go ahead, grab those, and then we can also discuss what our plans will be for the motor that's in the ZR2. And what we've been waiting for is this box from Texas Speed. So let's go ahead and get this open with our free box knife tool from Harbor Freight. So yeah, so we ordered this, like I said, 6 weeks ago, roughly, 5 or 6, whatever. And yeah, so this should open up. And so yeah, there should be a couple parts in here. One will be flat. Actually, they all should be fairly flat. Another piece. Some ARP bolts. Hey, Texas Speed lanyard, which I really don't need. Texas Speed sticker? Oh, there you go. All right. And another piece. So yeah, we ordered a couple kits from Texas Speed. I'm just gonna go ahead and get these open and we'll show you what all came. All right, so you guys can see we actually have some hardware from Texas Speed, and it looks like it's cast with their logos in it. And the last thing I'm gonna comment about is the powder coating sucks about as bad as the guy that did the last project for the SS and the Corvette. Yeah, this powder coat sucks. Luckily, all this stuff's gonna be covered up for the most part. And so what we have here is a front timing cover for the LT motor, as well as a LT4 valley cover. And we need both of those. Obviously, one is because we have the LT4 supercharger, and then the other one is here because we're gonna be doing a full DOD removal and delete on the truck, because I do not want any of those parts in my motor. And so as you guys can see, this will not look like a traditional LT cover because it doesn't have the huge boss for the camshaft, timing chain, and all that stuff, because that displacement on demand, or the active fuel management, whatever you want to call it, has a cam phaser on it. We're going to be completely getting rid of that, and we're going to be using the LS3 parts. So this is just your traditional LS3 with the 58X 4 lines on it, the ARP bolts that come with that. And yeah, so that will limit our cam choices, but that's all right. I think we're gonna have to go with an off-the-shelf cam anyway, because my cam guy only does LS stuff, doesn't do LT stuff, so that's one thing. But before we talk about the motor, I do have one little modification I want to do to our brand new LT4 active fuel management DOD delete cover, and that is going to be installing this PCV delete from Mighty Mouse. And what this is going to be doing is going to be cutting off the PCV system between the supercharger and the engine block. Because the way the stock setup works is there's a little boss, actually it's right here, this little metal piece presses in here, and if you have the stock setup, that little metal connector allows crankcase ventilation to go right through the valley cover, right through that port up top, and go right into the bottom of the supercharger, and that ends up soaking the rotors, the bricks, and everything inside the supercharger with oil. You obviously don't want that to happen. So with this kit from Mighty Mouse Catch Cans, this basically will fill that void in and will not allow any oil, any air, any combustion to go up from the valley cover into the supercharger and get sucked into the system. So this PCV kit from Mighty Mouse will take care of that. And this shouldn't take too long. We have 2 new O-rings on there. Basically, you just gotta stick it in there like this, and should block it off. So, all right, so we have the valve cover, our AN wrench, and our PCV fitting from Mighty Mouse. Put a little bit of assembly lube on the O-rings. Now, I did end up buying these O-rings. I think you can reuse the ones that you have, but obviously since we don't have a motor yet and I don't have anything taken apart, I just bought the O-rings. I think they're like $4. So yeah, just spread the assembly lube over the O-ring, make sure it's well lubricated, and we'll eventually be taking this and threading it into here on the front of the boss for the LT4 valley cover. All right, so this will thread on with pretty much no problem, and then you just got to get your wrench the right length and just start twisting it, and we'll eventually get this tight. So I'm going to put the camera down, tighten this down, and we'll get this in here locked where it's supposed to be for the LT4 valley cover. And there you go, we got this tightened down. I think the instructions just said, you know, tight till it stops moving, and since this is all aluminum, you don't want to screw up the threads or anything, so make sure you use an Allen wrench if you have one. And there you go, we have the Mighty Mouse PCV fitting onto the Texas Speed valley cover, and this will eventually go underneath our LT4 supercharger. Then these are some fittings I ordered because these are actually kind of a pain to figure out where to get, and Mighty Mouse advertised them, and since we already had ordered a part from there, I didn't really have to pay shipping, any extra shipping. All right, these first pieces are for that port we were just talking about on the supercharger. That goes right there. That will go to our catch can. And then the second fitting that we have, this will go on to our Escalade V port right here. And this port right here, that will run over to the passenger side valve cover. So yeah, that is our first modification to our motor that we do not own. And yes, I said we do not own. Guys, basically, I've decided not to use the stock engine that's in the truck, and the reason we're not going to be doing that is because of twofold. One, these engines keep locking up. You guys, I keep seeing stories of lifters failing. I see the bottom end going. I'm not really sure which story is the true one to believe, but basically, the lifters go, it ends up putting shavings and crap throughout the motor. That locks up the bottom end somehow, ruins it, and you guys end up getting a new crate motor from GM. And another thing that I've heard from the guy that actually bought the LT4 supercharger from was that not only do the lifters go bad, but also the bottom end ends up having some kind of metal flakes. When the machining was done on the block, it wasn't properly cleaned up before it was assembled. So, you know, I'm hearing different stories of whether it's the top end of the motor with the lifters or it's the bottom end with debris and stuff coming out of the oil passages, going through the motor and basically destroying all the bearings and causing the bottom end to get hot, the bearing seize, and the whole engine seizes. So yeah, there's multiple different theories on what's going on with these engines, whether it's a lift or whether it's something in the machining process and causing the bottom end to lock up. There's obviously issues with the L87. And so with that being said, that's kind of where we lead to into the discussion about the short block. Well, it'll actually be a long block in this case. This actually might be helpful if you guys give me some input as well. So if you guys have any experience with the LT motors, please let me know if I'm making a good or bad decision. So what my plan is, there is a 400 cubic inch block that Texas Speed sells. The short block retails for roughly around $7,800, $7,500, something like that. So not quite 8,000, but just, you know, a little bit lower than that. And what it is, it's a L8T, so the 6.6 liter crank. It has forged rods, forged pistons, and I believe the diameter is just above 4 inch, maybe it's like 4.125. And so it's not a 427, but it's also not the stock. I think it's a 376 or 372, whatever it is. It ends up being about 400 cubic inches. So, you know, and with us having a supercharger, you know, I'm kind of like, yeah, I know those engines like to have more bore. I kind of wish we had a 427 on the 2650 behind us, but since we have the 1.7 liter, you know, it's pretty much stock. We're gonna have a bigger throttle body on it. And the cam I'm not planning on making it too aggressive. I do want this truck to be streetable, and it is my daily driver. So, you know, it'd be something kind of mild. So I'm thinking of the Texas Speed fully forged L8T, be an aluminum block as far as I'm aware of. I don't think they do the L8T stuff in an iron block. They may sell that, but yeah, so like I said, it's about $7,000, like $7,500. And so it has forged rod, forged pistons. I believe they're Texas Speed rods, and I think the pistons are Diamond or someone like that. I'm not sure if they're Weisco or not, but it's one of the manufacturers that Texas Speed works with. And yeah, so that's kind of my plan for the short block is Texas Speed, you know, fully forged short block, that kind of like we got for the Corvette, because I only bought that with the block, rods and pistons in it, and crank. That's kind of what we're planning on for the truck. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on the motor selection. You know, it's just something I could throw 10, 11 pounds of boost at, be reliable, and then the other thing is, you know, you always could go the route of just throwing all this stuff on the stock engine. But guys, if that thing's already damaged, I don't want to throw boost at it and it throws a rod, and then I get the truck towed to Chevrolet and they're like, oh, well, this isn't covered because he threw a blower at it. I would at least like to do it right, do it once, and then potentially take that stock motor out and sell it, maybe get it built, whatever. But kind of like I'm saying, you know, if I have a drop-in ready to go, the truck would be down for a minimum amount of time because I already have everything fully assembled. And we still have an engine stand. It's right there between the welding cart and my grill. So, you know, I could buy the short block, just start putting parts on it short, you know, slowly over time. And then the other thing is, if this thing does take a crap, the L87, and you know, I need a new motor, I've already got it on the stand ready to go. So that's kind of where we're at. As for recommendations, guys, I'm open to other suggestions if you have better alternatives. I looked at Texas Speed, I looked at LME, I looked at Thompson Motorsports, I looked at K-Tech. Now, I think they only sell cylinder heads. I don't think they do motors. You know, so those are kind of like my top 3 or 4. I also wanted to talk about the cylinder heads a little bit. I am looking at the PRC LT4 supercharged heads. Those come ported, polished, ready to go. I think they have the valve springs, everything's built in. And yeah, that's kind of what I was looking at. If you guys go with a stock LT4 head, the cheapest price I've seen on those is $2,000. Send those out to get ported, that's roughly another $500 to $1,000. So you're at $2,500 to $3,000. Then you buy springs, you buy retainers, you buy all that. That's going to be another, you know, another $1,000. You're approaching like $4,000 when you can just buy the PRC head that has all that stuff done to it, and it might even outflow the stock cylinder heads, the stock LT4. I'm just not sure, but yeah, that might be the direction we head. I'm just not sure quite yet. But yeah, so I'm kind of looking at, I almost might be getting the whole thing from Texas Speed. I don't know, but I think that was my #1 choice for the cylinder head, just due to the fact that the used prices on these heads are ridiculous when I can go buy a set of brand new heads out of the box and they're ready to bolt on. And so yeah, it might be a little bit more upfront cost for the LT4 PRC heads, but at the end of the day, you might buy a set of LT4 heads and they're bad. You have no way of knowing that until you get it, you get them tested, you get them machined, and they might have a crack in it. You know, I'm not saying it happens a lot, but you know, there's that risk factor. I'm like, you know, buy something brand new casting, it's not used, you don't, you know, it's not gonna be beat on, and it's ready to go, or you spend all this money, get all this machine work done, and then you end up finding a problem with your, you know, $1,000 cylinder head, and you've spent money on porting or whatever, and it has a crack in it. So that's another thing to consider. And so yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video. I know we did do a little bit of work on the motor that we don't have yet, but also I'm kind of leaving it open-ended for you guys to interact with me and give me some suggestions. Like I said, I will read them all down below. So with that being said, if you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more LT4, more motor, more ZR2 updates, hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications. If you guys want to help support the channel, check out all the links down below. I'm not sure I'll be able to provide anything for the Texas Speed parts, but hey, we'll give you part numbers for what all they have. And then also make sure you check out our website, BonecrrusherSS.com. We do have new ZR2 merch on there, so check that out. And any support you give there goes right back into this motor, the supercharger, the truck, the shop, and Corvette, and all that stuff. So that's to be it. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.